Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what, I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people, right? You want people to care. You want to strike emotions, and I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one.
Quarter pounder with cheese and France, Mickey. What? Royale with cheese, Mickey. Yeah, I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice that my progeny to view of a mighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success? Hey everyone, and welcome to Superhero Speak. I'm your host, Dave.
And I'm Jury Rig John again.
You're hiding in an undisclosed location.
Yep, I am at my sister's house in Connecticut, and I have brought some of my equipment with me, as you can see. But I will have a big giant head on the screen, and I hopefully sound the same. I've only got one earpiece, though.
Ah.
But my brother-in-law did give me the required sustenance.
Yes. And obviously people can see that JD is not here at the moment, but he is running late. He will be joining us shortly. He's on the road, rushing back to join us, possibly rushing to poop. And
I thought you're going to say he's on the road trying to get us stories, but
maybe. And you know what's really annoying? My other computer had our page up and started auto-playing the show.
That's what I'm hearing. We are all sorts of technical problem today. Nice.
All right. Let's
you're going to have to.
If JD was here, you two could banter and I could go turn that off, but
I mean, I can tell you how my day's going while you turn it off. So,
yes. First off, why are you at your sister's and how are things going?
Oh, no, things are going fine. My sister's going on vacation, so I'm going to watch my nephews. So I will look a lot more tired next Sunday when that comes up. But he's not going to hear any of this. But you're going to hear this, guys. How you doing? Lots of new anime that I've tried out. And I don't know, worked on the book a little bit, work, blah, blah, blah. Looking at a couple of new trailers. One for, believe it or not, the Meg 2 is coming out. I like with Jason Statham. I did not know that they were going to come out with a second movie about that. I think that's awesome. What else we got? There is Meg 2 The Trench, that's what it's called. And there's going to be another Hunger Games movie, another Equalizer 3 movie is coming out. I was just talking about Equalizer 3 is coming out too. And then there's right next to that is a trailer for the new Transformers Rise of the Beasts, which is the only one I'm really.
Drew says,
yes.
You look joyous, much better than the darkness of normal. Yes, but that's a fake background.
No, this is not the fake background. I had the fake background on, but you didn't like the brick wall. Looked like I was in front of a firing squad.
Oh, so that's a real couch behind you. Okay.
Yes, that's the real. That's real. Oh, and another movie I saw that's coming out, Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. There's only a teaser for that out right now, but that sounds awesome.
Now, that's a continuation of which version?
Oh,
or is it
of Godzilla versus Kong?
Okay.
Right. It's just a continuation of the American type movies. I know that Toho is going to come out with a new Japanese Godzilla movie, and it should be in the same. It won't be a continuation of Shin Godzilla, which was too awesome to too awesome to even try to describe. I actually brought that here to show have a movie night with my nephews. But it's going to. I mean, they're going to start a new bunch of Godzilla movies, I guess, from Toho, even while the Legendary universe is going on. But they're not going to be the same. The Toho ones aren't going to be the same silly stuff that came out in the was it the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. They're looks like they're going to go back to like the serious Godzilla again. They said in the same vein of Shin Godzilla, although it won't be Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla is way overpowered. Like nothing will ever work on him twice. He'll always evolve. So I don't know how you end that story without him just destroying the planet. But they already did that series on Netflix. They had Godzilla 1, 2, and 3. 1 was good. They were animated too. Godzilla 1 was good. 2 and 3 were not good at all.
So Drew says, I hope they bring in Pacific Rim. I have not seen the Pacific Rim movies. Is that in the same universe or?
No, it's not. And the first one was Del Toro. The first Pacific Rim movie was definitely worth seeing. You really should see that. If you haven't, just rent it now. The second one, I didn't see. I've heard enough about it that it's okay, but it's not great. So I don't know if Pacific 3 they could bring it back. But that it'd be worth looking at, because who doesn't like giant robots versus giant mechs versus monsters, right? Seriously. Well, yeah, exactly. So who doesn't want to see that? It's like,
so I bet my girlfriend wouldn't like it.
Yeah, but but us geeks we'll like, here, take our money. So yeah, that's how I'm doing. How you doing, Dave?
All right. Haven't really done much this week, except this is how boring I have become. I watched the Great British Baking Show. Well, there is now the Great American Baking Show.
Oh, so it's all burger flipping.
No.
Let's see how much monosodium glutamate we can pack into this one patty.
No, it was interesting. Obviously, so this is one of the, other than the Weird Al show, this is the other Roku original that I've watched, because this is on the Roku channel. So it's a Roku original. And it's interesting because it's the same judges as the British baking show. It's the same setup, like everything's. I believe it's the same company actually making it. They're just it's being just distributed here, obviously by the Roku channel.
Well, yeah, they've never done that before. I mean,
obviously they have. I mean, American Idol started off as British Idol, right?
Yeah, and The Office and all the other ones that they brought over. So, hey, Kasan.
Hello, Kasan. So, well, and it's funny because speaking of The Office, those who've watched the American version all the way through, at one point Pam becomes a salesperson, and they bring in the new girl to be the receptionist, the redhead, who I can't remember the actress's name to save my life, but she is one of the hosts of this show. And I don't know, and I have no idea who the male host is. Like, he's obviously some kind of comedic actor, but I don't think I've ever seen him in anything. So it's weird. It's a much different, it's a slightly different dynamic. It's much shorter. It was only 6 episodes total. And they only start with 9 people. And then the semifinal, they get down to 5, eliminate 2, and then did a final with 3. Huh. So it's like, I know it's such a dorky show. I like the Great British Baking Show because, unlike most reality shows like that, the people actually help each other out, and there's no like backstabbing. There's no like cutting to a confessional where they're complaining about one of the other bakers or anything like that. I know you're confused. It's like
Where's the fun in that? I mean, like that doesn't sound American at all.
It's not. Well, I'm saying the British version and the American version was also very much the same, except every once in a while, one of the hosts would go up to one of the bakers and be like, "Oh, well, you don't really like this person, do you?" Like, I felt like they were trying to create.
That sounds like American TV. I mean, literally every time you hear about one of the reality TV shows, that's after a while, all the stories leak out from behind the scenes, and it's all
fake.
they say it's reality TV. It's not reality TV.
No.
They scripted some parts, and the rest of it is just literally the producers doing exactly what you said and going by and like, this person said this about you. I think you should confront them. Like just giving nudges here and there to make even normal people really stupid.
So we all know the granddaddy of reality shows is The Real World on MTV.
Oh God, yeah.
And it's funny because like there was so much quote unquote conflict in the first season of The Real World, and it became a hit and blah blah. The cast of the original first season have all come out and said nothing happened. That was all editing to make it look like they were fighting and not getting along. Like he said, they're friends today. Like nothing happened on the show. They just like 5 guys or whatever just living together. Nothing. Like they edited it to make it look like they were fighting all the time and everything.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, now that we have a writer's strike, we can look forward to another boom in reality TV, probably.
I am sure that's coming.
By the way, we support the writers. They just in this day and age with the streaming, they should adjust the pay for the new era of streaming, and writers should be able to get a living wage and get what they're due, because you can't have a show without writers. Because if you have a show without writers, you get us, and you don't want that. Not everywhere.
Wait, what? You're stepping on our stick here.
No, I'm meta-ing our stick.
Well, and I can't remember who pointed this out last week, but one of the issues is that with the streaming, they're not forthcoming with the actual numbers, right? And
yeah, the only time they'll tell us anything is, oh, we have more viewers or less viewers or whatever. They don't tell you anything else.
Right, and I know they're not paid on viewers. They're paid on traditional television. They're paid on advertising dollars. So obviously, the more viewers, the more money they make. This is you're getting subscriptions. So I think like if they're not, what they should be doing is tracking. Okay, how many new subscribers are watching this show? Right.
Well, they're tracking it, but they won't tell us. That's what and they won't. More importantly, they won't tell the writers who are writing the shows that are causing a streaming service to either gain or lose.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is that like that's the whole thing. It's like if the writers bringing in more money to if the whole show is bringing more money into this platform, those people should be making more money, right? Like that's how it normally works on television, but now with streaming, it's not working that way. So
right, and the thing where they're trying to turn this into a gig economy, where it's like, it's like we'll give you a contract for 1 or 2 episodes or something, or we'll pay you per episode. It's like that's not how that works. Yeah, first off, none of these places are going to do that. None of these houses are going to do that anyway, because if you want really inconsistent writing, yeah, sure, hire a different writer for every episode. Like that always worked out, right? Star Wars trilogy. Well, so like it just they're not going to do that.
That's how comics have worked. It's they bring a writer who writes a story, and then they leave, and then another writer comes in and writes another story, and they don't always build off what the last writer did.
Or sometimes they tear down what the last writer did, or they, change things. I mean, comics are famous for retconning, right?
Yes.
But people watching a TV show aren't looking to have things retconned unless you're watching Doctor Who. Then you don't mind a retcon here and there. But otherwise, you're not looking for like on The Office to have every episode completely change what happened in the last episode and people's personalities to be completely grafted onto different people. It's just, nobody's going to watch those kinds of shows.
No,
But
no.
so I don't that the way they treat writers these days. And then it was like Adam from Adam Ruins Everything was on CNN, and he did it perfectly. He was on there and he was discussing how the writer's strike and all that. He waited until like a couple of minutes into the interview before he basically took out a chainsaw and tore into them about how the current CEO of Time Warner, who owns now CNN, I guess, makes basically $250 million a year, which just that alone would cover what the writers were asking for. And that doesn't include all the executives under him, all the executives from all the other studios. Like, it's just the amount of money that now goes to the execs is just obscene. So is it cake? That's from Omega Level Nerds. Is it cake? I've never heard of that one.
Show is it? Yeah, I'm going to assume that's something on the Food Network.
It's probably played right after the other series. The Cake is a Lie. Gaming nerds will know what I'm talking about.
No, but I mean, yeah, and it's funny too because how and I've talked about this with other people where it's like, the problem with companies like this is that these people who are being brought in to be CEOs didn't build the company up, so they're taking huge salaries. Where if it was their company and they had a personal stake in it, they would probably take smaller salaries to invest back into the company, because that's what a lot of small businesses do. They invest back.
And the head of Time Warner, he's not even keeping the company alive, for crying out loud.
No, well, not at this point. No.
I mean, so but he still gets his golden parachute and his extra bonus. I mean, what the hell?
Well, everyone has to have a golden parachute. Don't you have one?
No, I'm 2 levels below golden parachute at work. I know that for a fact. So
I'm golden shovel. Basically,
they give you the shovel to dig your own grave with. What?
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Oh my gosh.
All
right. That's enough of old man talk.
Yes.
Although I really can't wait to see Meg 2. Like that it looks like fun. There's extra Megs and a lot of other prehistoric creatures. This is going to be fun.
You know what else is fun?
What's that?
A little social media madness.
No, it is not. It is not fun. The Cake is a Lie, and so is that. No. Bad host.
So first off, we talked about Dune 2, the trailer for Dune 2 last week. We got a couple of comments over on the YouTubes about it. At Peter Parker said, Dune in IMAX was a cinematic experience like no other. The whole of Dune 2 was shot in IMAX, and I have no doubt that will be a masterpiece. So, guys, we did talk about that. How seeing it on the big
should
screen
be interesting. I'm still waiting to. I still can't wait to see if the plot is going to be the original from the books, where they basically trick the Fremen into believing that Paul Atreides is the Messiah, or if they take the other route of the original movie. Who was the director of the original movie? I keep forgetting. It wasn't Del Toro. It was
no. It was
famous guy. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, where they make him the actual one.
Yes. At Donnie 1960 said, Dune was not written for the general masses. I see a lot in these reactions. Star Wars is the dumbed down, diluted product that most viewers of movies crave. I loved Star Wars, and as a huge fan of Dune, never saw Dune in it. Was a good story. Plain good guy, bad guy thing. It will never go out of style. Dune is something completely different. Again, not for everyone.
Well, yes. Dune is high concept stuff. Like
Dune is something completely different. Again, not for
you're repeating yourself, Dave. No,
that wasn't
Dune
me this time.
Yeah, I know. Dune is high concept, like Foundation or I Robot they made into a movie that was low concept. But like,
I feel like
you know,
that comment was geared towards what JD said, where his son turned to him and said, "It looks like Star Wars. Is it Star Wars?"
oh yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the original Dune was 1984, and it was done David Lynch.
Ah,
Which
yes.
and it was very David Lynch. But I liked it, you know?
Okay.
Anyway.
I feel like this is the comment that, and there's a couple replies on this that maybe you're gonna have to address because you're the Dune guy. If they've written out Saint Allah of the Knife, the franchise is done. So, is that what you were just talking about, or?
Well, no, that's just another plot change. But yeah, like there's only so, like in the original movie, there's only so much you could. I mean, even now they're cutting out huge parts of some things, because with even with it being a two-parter, but with the original movie, it really wasn't. It was Dune only in the fact that it had sandworms and Paul Atreides, but there was a lot of other stuff there, but it was not the same story. Yeah, if they're cutting out entire characters that are like crucial to the plot in the books, then yes,
Wait. Hold on a second. Don, are you saying you're Donnie 1960? That would be
are we having comment? That was me. Oh,
yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, he said that was me. So I would assume he's Donnie 1960 and not the other.
Oh, he's using aliases now. Oh, good. Okay.
And not.
So yeah,
Lord Crunk 4790.
I mean, there's a certain amount of changes you have to make to any story to make it work on the screen as compared to a book. But when you take out entire characters that in the book form are crucial to the plot or drive the plot or help or things that the author used to like make a point that was part of the point of the book, then it could still be a good story in its own right, though. You know, like I'm liking the new Dune. I'm one of those people that liked the old Dune, or David Lynch one, because of its kind of camp and just weirdness and all the freaking whispering, and it was just it was David Lynch. It was weird, but it was interesting to watch. This one is okay. It's not as interesting to watch as now that I'm thinking about it. Like interesting as in, you know, it's fun to watch Dune via Uwe Boll's vision. But this new one is more grand, I think, and you know, it's got its own charm to it in certain ways.
Don replied, said Ali is like 4 years old at the end of Dune. I'm sure she will be there, but it's not her movie. It's not her movie. The later books cover her much more. Also, no franchise will survive if they introduce her in late production.
She's talking about he's talking about the sister of Paul Atreides.
Oh, okay.
She. I mean, if they want a sequel bait, she'll be introduced in some way.
Yeah. Which
we'll see. Herbert Walker's Dune is just it's grand. So, like there's several books to it. You just have Frank Herbert, by the way. Sorry, Herbert Walker. I don't know where I got that. I don't know, but yeah, it's hey, I'd say go read the books. It's gonna be. There are a lot more changes in this than there are, say, in the Harry Potter books, from the Harry Potter books to the movies. But the books are definitely worth reading. So is Foundation, by the way, which there's also a series out on Amazon, I think.
There's also way more changes in the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but
Well,
What
the
else we
elves
got?
the elves never showed up at Helm's Deep. Anyway, uh, we
Yeah,
done-
well,
so a
look at
couple.
all the changes they made in the original. Like, yeah. Just
We
too
also
many
talked
changes.
about recently the Mandalorian season 3. We reviewed it. To which Timothy Jones said, "I haven't seen the final episode yet, so I won't be able to listen to that part of your episode. Unfortunately, this is the way."
Timothy Jones available in finer, like everywhere basically now. I think.
It's sour grapes available in finer newspapers across the
Yep.
country.
I don't have that down. I really should get that down. Thanks, Tim.
All right. And then, of course, last week we did review Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. To which Kassan said, "I'd like to hear your thoughts a week after you've watched the movie. I still rate it high. Best MCU since No Way Home. It's a solid 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, he's got a point. Like, after it settles in, you kind of change your mind a little bit, I think.
Hasn't soured on me. I still think the same way about it that I did then.
Yeah, it hasn't soured on me either. I mean, I was a little harsh on it.
You
But,
were, yeah, you were more iffy about it than we were.
right. I mean, again, I'm going to say this, and this might be what Kassan's getting at. There's this weird tendency that when a good Marvel movie comes out, everyone gets super hyped afterwards, and it's like, it's the best thing since sliced bread. And it's like, is it really? Like, you got to let it marinate a little bit. Go, okay, wait, does this crack my top 10? Does this crack my top 5? Like it's not going to be in my top 5. The first Guardians was, but not this one. So. And then the Gorilla Brain podcast replied with Rocket Raccoon saying, "Damn." And Karanj JD, that's a weird name. It sucks that he's not here. Said, "Do you think originally someone was going to die, but they adjusted due to the feedback about Phase 4, and that was to start moving away from grief and loss?" Yeah, that's actually I have thought about that, like, because they come in, they fake this out in the trailer. There's like 3 or 4 times in the movie you think someone's going to die, and no one dies. And yeah, like before this, everything has been about grief and loss.
Well, yeah, I know, but again, like Phase 4 is ending, Phase 5 is starting, and I don't even know where the concept of Phase 4 being all about grief and loss has come from. I think it turned into that because of the pandemic slowing everything down and them having to rearrange the movies and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it kicks off with WandaVision, which is definitely her grieving.
Oh yeah, it started like that, most certainly. But
yeah,
but yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. It's like, yeah, it's maybe. I mean, it would be like if Guardians of the Galaxy heralds the Phase 5, then yeah, I mean, I could see them saying that. But then we're going to talk about something later about, it seems like James Gunn still had mostly full control over everything. So, I think he made it exactly the way he wanted it, and
yeah,
I'm good with it.
Drew says, "I think it's funny people are upset with the content of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. To me, it was a solid PG-13, but no one looks at that anymore." It's you know what? He's right. Like, and what was it? You're allowed one F-bomb in a PG-13 movie. He gave us that at the midway through the movie. Like,
I'm sorry, the movie ratings are BS. They're complete bullshit. They're just
they've always been that way.
I know, because I mean, look at the difference between a PG in the 80s and a PG today. Like RoboCop versus anything today. It's like,
and that was like, that's one of the things though, right? Like, making something PG today is like a kiss of death. G is really a kiss of death, because it's like you're not going to get. They know the majority of your moviegoers are going to be mid to late teens and early 20s that are going to go to movies. So they're not going to want to go see a kids movie unless it's a unless it's a family going to the movies. So yeah,
same thing for an R. Like how many movies have we talked about that have like had to cut things in order to cut an R down to PG-13?
Yep.
Because they wanted that demographic. They wanted that huge slice of pie. And if they released it as an R, they would have less viewership or less receipts.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly true. It all fits into what you're always talking about with the 4 quadrants, right? Like that's part of it is putting it in a rating where everyone can go see it, and it attracts the largest audience. So,
which really is just funny because you look at the movies where they didn't listen to the studio and they released it like they wanted, like say Deadpool, and hey, wow, who knew that if you had a rated R movie about a superhero, you would get like a huge freaking following and and huge box office and all that. Who knew? It's just.
And then finally, we talked about Adam Driver has been cast in the Fantastic Four movie. It's we don't know who he's playing yet. Of course, some are saying Reed Richards. We kind of want Doom. Timothy Jones. Timothy Jones came back and said,
"Oh no, here it comes."
He said Kylo Doom. So, so we'll give him that.
Oh, don't ever change, Tim. I love your comments, man.
So yeah. So that's
that's awesome.
That's all I've got for Social Media Madness this week. So if you guys want to follow us on Social Media Madness and get more superhero speak, here's our good friend Don to tell you more.
Enjoying the show? Do you want to be part of Social Media Madness? Well, go ahead and head on over to superheroespeak.com. You'll find all the links you need, episodes of the show, comic reviews by Chris, and other articles. We're posting stuff on there all the time. And while you're there, you can also check out the rest of the Geek World All-Stars podcast network. Include great shows like the Pop Prison Power podcast, Colt 45, baby, So Wizard podcast, Fans on Patrol, the Gorilla Brain podcast, and of course, Superhero Speak. Hashtag GW All-Stars, and you're not going to be disappointed. So, make sure that you are commenting on our Twitter articles. Could be a poignant comment, could be a stupid one. Either way, gives you a chance for Dave to possibly mispronounce your Twitter handle. All right, well, I've rambled on enough. Let's head back to Dave and the gents on Superhero Speak.
Thanks for that, Don. Don't forget to check out the Omega Level Nerds podcast, available on YouTube and wherever podcasts are available. And yeah. Oh, what's Drew say here about Deadpool? I feel like Deadpool is censored. They cut him shooting the bad guy, and it seemed out of place.
Yeah. I don't know how much they cut out of that. I mean, I know that the original was cut down a bit, but the only reason a lot of the movie was cut down was because they cut the budget halfway through. I guess somebody didn't like the idea, like they didn't think it was going to do good, and even with that, it only made it a better movie because Ryan Reynolds just can't be stopped.
Yeah, I also think there's a lot of blood on that bridge scene.
So. Oh yeah, no, I'm sure. Like if we saw the uncut version, it would. I don't know. It's hard enough for me to watch some of the scenes of that because I'm just such a puritanical, so and so. But I don't know. It box office. You can't argue with it. People love it, and I'm sure if they made an R Superman movie, oh God, I guarantee you will make back double what you paid for the movie. Come on.
Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Or a Batman movie. Oh.
Batman movie, I could see. We'll talk about Superman here in a minute. On that note, we will be taking a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with some news.
Some podcasts are like this.
On top, missionary pull the leg over, so that way it's like they're on their side a bit. So that way it's like you're hitting it from the back, but you're still getting face action.
Yeah.
That way you still reach a hand
some
up
Twister
there.
shit.
Yeah, but you still get deep because you get
and face and neck.
It's a power position.
What would you call that? Like a wine opener?
The bop it, you can smack it, you can choke it, you can pull it, you can do everything.
And some podcasts are like this.
It's hard. I'm one day off vaping right now, bro. And I want to fucking smoke a bowl out of my own nuts, bro, of pure nicotine.
But only one podcast is where you can get in-depth analysis like this.
Ooh, we let that slide. That was woo.
He's a
sweet
bad guy.
and sour
It's
chicken
fine.
ass nigga.
He's a bad guy.
Ooh,
let's just walk over this one.
Because he was a villain, we let that slide. That was. Oof. I forgot about that. My bad. Just because you naming food, nigga, don't make it better, dog. Like, it's still racist as shit,
There's so much racism.
bro. Also, I know ain't no black people wrote this, so I know this is just.
This is just them.
Tripping and
we can say
racism.
whatever he wanted through his mouth. Come on, think of all the racist things you want to say to those Asian people.
Get it off your
Say
chest. It'll be spoken in jive, so it wouldn't hurt so much.
His sweet jive mouth.
You are now listening to Cult 45.
This is Beat 'em Down.
And I'm Random Randy Savage.
Find us on all your podcatching apps like Podbean or Spotify, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or just go to www.cult45podcast.com.
Also, check out our YouTube for that sweet, sweet video content.
Cult 45, the only podcast that puts hair on your chest.
Drew wants to know, what would you need for an R for a Superman? That sounds like a bad idea. You know what? It does.
I don't know. Like almost anything that was in like Justice League Unlimited with the Bruce Timm stuff, like that could easily go R if they showed actual things that happened like off screen. You know, some of the later movies, like
So you're saying like, I mean, yeah, okay. Let's for instance take Man of Steel, and
oh my God, oh the carnage. That's easy. That's easy.
Exactly.
Come on.
If you could easily turn that to an R movie by showing people actually dying in those buildings that were being knocked over in that fight in Metropolis. So
yeah. Look, just anything out of what's the animation Invincible, right?
Yeah.
That shows you just how bad things can get with a super powered and vulnerable guy, right?
Yeah.
And you don't even need an Omni-Man to turn it to turn an entire, city into salsa. You just need like, one normal bad guy like the Joker, or hell, even Luthor would do enough to make something an R if you actually follow one of their plot lines.
Look
properly.
who decided to show up as we ended social media, or as we gotten out of our commercial break. So we're already done social media madness.
No.
I feel like you were watching the show and waited to join.
That is
I would have.
That is not in fact accurate. Kind of wish it was. I just walked in the door. I was stuck in traffic coming home from Wisconsin Dells, and there was a big accident on I-90. So
okay.
I spent about a 2-hour drive turned into 3 hour and 45-minute drive.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
And that wasn't me, so nothing to worry about.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
They call me red-handed. Oh, hey, Drew. Why show it? What is gained over losing young Earth's Invincibles for an adult audience? What are we talking about?
How to make Superman rated R. We're good.
Why?
Well, no, we don't have. You don't have to make it rated R, but
why?
We just were joking.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
I mean, it's a thought. At this point, it's a thought experiment. Like you could make like any plot line with Batman could easily wander into rated R territory. Superman maybe less so, but still, like if you're a super powered guy and and something's coming after you, whatever's coming after you is probably going to make a mess, and that mess is going to turn your movie into a rated R.
You know what? You know why that the JD was late. People were on. There were too much traffic out there because people should have been home to watch this show. And you know why they didn't know the show was on?
Yeah.
Because they weren't subscribed. So if you're watching this right now, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications. Also, I forgot before we get to the news, I forgot to say this at the top of the show. We missed our 10-year anniversary. It was 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
when we had Pat on, that would have been officially 10
It's because we're old.
Yeah. So yay, 10 years. Woo!
Whoa! And you used graphics from 10 years ago. Perfect.
Yeah. We don't get much more advanced than that.
No. That as they say in the Ghostbusters, that represents the last of the petty cash.
Hello, classy. Let's see. I graduated from community college yesterday.
Congrats.
Got my associate's degree and going to transfer to university to get my bachelor's degree. Congratulations.
There, congrats.
You're giving us your supervillain origin story? Is that what you do?
Sure.
Hey,
Drew
no,
said,
no, Drew. Drew, bad. Wrong. No, Drew. No. Unless it's Death Battle. Then they could easily make it in our Death Battle with Pinkie Pie.
MLP?
Pinkie Pie. Yeah.
What the hell are you guys talking about?
That's who Pinkie. That's wait. MLP.
Pinkie Pie is a MLB Generation 4 pony that also realizes she's a cartoon, just like Deadpool. Death Battle did a Death Battle between Pinkie Pie and Deadpool because they could both break the fourth wall easily.
Yes. So MLP is My Little Pony. Pinkie. Okay. That should be a baddie. All right. Okay. Drew. That's the easy way to get John going is to mention My Little Pony. Don't do that. That or anime.
Dang.
Can't wait.
No.
James Gunn Superman. Well, we're going to talk about that in a little.
Yeah, I'm optimistic. I mean,
cautiously.
It's still under the umbrella of Warner, so who knows how much. I mean, look, James Gunn is probably the only person I can think of right now that could resist any studio interference. So we'll see what happens. Nice haircut. This is just where my hair should be. I should get a haircut more often. I just let it grow because I'm lazy.
It's called going bald.
Why are you on the floor this week? I didn't even recognize where you were at. I thought I was on the wrong show.
I'm at my sister's house. I brought some of my equipment with me, but I'm taking care of my nephews this week while my sister and her husband go out on vacation.
Fair.
So I brought some nice movies for the kids to see, like Big Trouble in Little China, Shin Godzilla, Kung Fu Hustle.
Behind the Green Door?
No, yeah, sure.
All right.
And The Thing by Carpenter. I'm sure the 9-year-old will love that.
Let's get to a little bit of news. And I bring up this first story because I feel this is a good we talked about, having this Spider-Man adjacent universe and like the idea of Venom 3's working title is Orwell, which is they're hinting at it's possibly Orwell Taylor is going to be the villain. Have either of you guys heard of Orwell Taylor?
Honestly, no, I'm not familiar with Orwell Taylor.
I have no idea.
So he's strictly a villain from the Venom books.
Oh.
Which only a handful of people have actually read the Venom books.
Wow. Like they really think they can go the Guardians of the Galaxy way? They really think they've got those chops?
I mean,
oh boy.
Classy wants you to gray hair out, JD, but you did that already.
I did that. I mean, I don't know if you were watching back then, but about 2 years ago, my hair was down to my shoulders, and because it was really long, because it was really curly. Excuse me. It went, as you can see. I got to get a haircut again. It goes up. So I used to have to wear a headband on the show to keep it all in line. I would have to grease my hair. It was a lot of effort. I'm good.
So anyway,
I got a goatee going now.
Yes, I can see that.
Should I give them the spiel on who Orwell is?
George Orwell, writer of 1984.
Yeah.
No.
Orwell Taylor, Earth 616. That's
sure. Go for it.
Once a general in the United States Army, he and his wife had 2 sons, Maxwell and Hugh. Let's see. After he was left of the army, he got a job working at the superhuman prison known as the Vault, where he became friends with Curtis Elkins. Hugh was smothered to death by Venom. Orwell, mad with grief, wanted to find a way to avenge the death of his son, so he gathered together several of his son's Hugh's former army buddies and fellow guardsmen at the Vault and outfitted them with armor based on the armor the guardsmen wore, which were based on designs stolen from Iron Man. Maxwell became Screech, Samuel Culkin became Ramshot, and Curtis Elkins became Sentry. Sentry? Not the Sentry. That's too powerful.
A Sentry, not the A Sentry, not the Sentry.
Yeah, like why would they use the same name? It can't. Yeah, it's not the same Sentry.
The Sentry you're thinking of came after this Sentry.
Okay. Yeah, he named his group the Jury and made it their mission to bring Venom to justice. So that's basically their story.
Right. So
it's really like
number one, I don't think they can do the whole thing because they don't have the rights to use Iron Man, so they can't say Iron Man armor.
What can they like? How are they making this? How are they making this entire universe that's based on Spider-Man without freaking Spider-Man?
But here's why I brought it up, and here's my point. It's like now you're getting to the point where, like the first movie, you have Venom, and then some generic Venom-esque villains that were from the comics, and then you bring in Carnage for the second one. Now it's like, okay, we don't want to repeat another Venom type villain, so we're going to bring in this third-rate villain from the comics that no one really knows. Like, you're going to run out of characters quickly, you know. That's my issue, and I don't think anyone's going to go see a movie with a third-rate villain from a Venom comic that no one knows about.
Well, this is what we said about Venom, and that people still go. I mean, people went to see Venom. They went to see Venom 2. Then they took a left turn into a brick wall with Morbius. So, but I don't see like how do you make all of these characters that are based on Spider-Man and or Spider-Man adjacent without Spider-Man? It just doesn't make any sense.
They're doing it. I don't know if they're doing it well, but they're doing it.
Well, it's still Sony, so.
Frosty says that movie sounds like crap.
It does. It kind of does.
Yeah, I think it will be.
You would literally have to be James Gunn to make that good, right? I mean, like, you need somebody like James Gunn. I don't know if there's anybody else like James Gunn, but you need somebody like James Gunn to make that kind of movie like work.
Classy says he saw Carnage with his family and they enjoyed it overall.
Good for them.
Yeah. I mean, okay, they made it entertaining.
But again, but you also had Woody Harrelson in the movie. I think that was part of the draw to it.
And Tom Hardy's a good actor.
Yeah. I'm not saying that he's
surprisingly
not either.
Good.
Right. But it's just like, I don't know. It just feels like weird. And also for the third movie to go to a somewhat generic villain, but like they're probably limited with their choices too.
Excuse me.
So
I mean, they're not really limited. They're any character in the Spider-Man catalog they can do something with. They just really aren't doing anything with Spider-Man, which is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they can't because it's like if they do anything with Spider-Man, they're going to ruin their cash cow with the Marvel universe. Like they need Spider-Man to stay there.
Yeah.
So I think the red wig in the after Classy says the red wig was weird.
It was Classy, definitely.
The one in the after credits scene for Venom looked bad, but I think they got it. It was much better in the Let There Be Carnage movie. I think they heard the feedback that it looked like crap. It got a better wig.
And anybody who looks at who knows Woody Harrelson, how do you picture him anything other than bald? I mean, like,
he's been bald for a long time.
Well, I still think a young Woody from Cheers.
He was balding in that.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, towards the end he was. Yeah. All right, let's move over to a good movie, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. This just recently came out. So the new Guardians at the end of the movie were not picked by Marvel. They were picked by James Gunn, which made me go, interesting. But here's my question. Does that mean that like Marvel said, go ahead and pick the team because we're not going to do anything with them afterwards?
That would be sad.
That'd
be their mistake. Their mistake.
I'm not saying that. Yeah, good.
I was gonna say I think we're done with the Guardians. I really do.
I think so as well. I think that
can they really be done though? I mean, like they're still involved in space with Captain Marvel and stuff. Like, how can you ignore the Guardians after that?
Well, that's the whole thing. They give you the feeling like they're going to continue on, but with a different team at the end there. But it's like, nah, like they just said, James, do whatever you want. We don't care. This is your last one. The only character we know we're definitely going to use is Star-Lord. So go ahead and do whatever you want with the Guardians.
I don't think Dave's wrong on that, to be honest with you. Pretty sure that's where they're coming from.
Yeah. So
that would be sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Vin Diesel will keep doing it.
Well,
do you think? I mean, they could.
He's got family. He's this family.
They could still use. I mean, Rocket. Anything that they brought Rocket in for would bring in cash. Like everybody loves Rocket Raccoon.
You don't need to do it as Guardians of the Galaxy. You could actually do something else.
Yeah, you can do side quests with these characters without it being the Guardians.
Yeah. So. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I don't want to see Guardians without James Gunn, but that's me.
Yeah, and Classy did points this out. The final credit says Star-Lord is coming back, not the Guardians.
Yeah. Correct.
Yep.
Star-Lord will return in something.
Right.
Something.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
They didn't tell us what movie he's going to come back in, just that he is going to come back.
This is true. This is very true. It's a shame.
Yeah.
He'll probably has a cameo in the Marvels.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. Let's move across the aisle and get started with these. These are the two articles that prompted what I wanted to talk about later. First, there's a lot of rumors going around about the casting for Superman, and the current forerunner that I've seen as for Superman is David Cornsweet or Cornsweet. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Cornswat. It's an E.
I think it's Cornsweat. Okay. Well, how the hell do you say his name? Cornsweat.
Cornsweat.
Cornsweat. There's a
they're saying Nicholas Hoult and David Sweaty Corn are the two.
Oh, good. We're off to a good start with this.
For Superman, and then Emma Mackey and Rachel. How do you say her name? Broham are the leads for
Rosnahan.
Oh yeah, are the leads for Lois, right? But it was funny because like all the fans, I keep seeing. Oh, Classy said he's coming back for Avengers. Meaning Star-Lord. I keep seeing posts everywhere on fan sites and social media. They really want this the Sweaty Corn guy. And it's funny. I showed a picture of him to my girlfriend, and she said, "Oh, I just thought that was a young Henry Cavill." So
he does look like Henry Cavill. Well, I mean, but he looks like Superman. You know what I'm saying? Like Superman has a very specific look. He looks leaner, but he could certainly muscle up, which he probably should if he's going to play Superman.
I showed a picture. I showed my brother-in-law this guy, and he said he was too handsome.
That's not a thing for Superman. That's not a thing in Hollywood.
No, I don't know. It almost makes sense to me for some reason. Like I don't know. If he bulks up, maybe, but it's just he looks more like you don't want a Superman that just looks like a model.
Have you seen Henry Cavill?
Yeah, but Henry, I don't know. He's got a more rugged look, right? He doesn't look like a runway model.
That's a handsome dude. That is a handsome dude.
You could say the same thing about Christopher Reeve as well.
Christopher Reeve was a handsome dude.
Yeah. Oh, I just recently saw something. I thought this was cool. I'd never heard this before. He was super skinny when he auditioned to be Superman.
Yeah.
That he actually wore a bulky sweater because he knew like they would look at him and say he was too skinny. So he wore a bulky sweater And then when he got the role, he's like, "Oh, I guess I got to put muscle on," and he put a bunch of muscle on to play the character. So
you know who he lifted weights with? David Prowse.
Vader himself.
Yes.
Nice. Yep.
Classic says, "I don't care who they cast as long as the movie is good." Well,
yeah,
we all want that.
That sort of does hinge on who they cast. Hopefully,
I also find it interesting is like, not that this matters too much, but they made this big deal about wanting to go younger, and again, he's the front runner. He's 29 currently, so he'll be in his early 30s, which
that's fine.
That's fine because that is the typical Superman age. But do you know how old Christopher Reeve was when he played Superman? 26.
Was he that young?
Yes.
Wow, he looked older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He carried himself older too.
Yeah. So
he was a very accomplished actor. So,
yeah, he was 26 when he shot Superman. So it was like, okay. So I kind of thought that's the direction they were going with this, but it's like, nah, let's keep the early 30s. Younger is Jorgen for cheaper. Or Jargon.
Yeah.
Cheaper. Yeah. Hassan's not wrong.
But also you've got the Deadpool angle of you need a 20-something unknown actor to carry the franchise for 10 to 12 years.
Yeah, he's right.
So.
I mean, the guy looks all right to me. I think it's good to get away from Henry Cavill. If this is the right guy, like I think it's good to not. I like Henry Cavill, but I think having a fresh start is probably best for everyone right now.
Fair enough.
Wow.
We'll have to see how he does it. Like again, Henry. The problem with Henry Cavill was he was given horrible scripts and terrible direction.
Absolutely,
like he could have done so much better.
Absolutely, no argument for me. And it's also DC, so Henry Cavill's probably that version of Superman's still out there somewhere.
Yeah, they've got the multiverse. They could always go back to that. Well,
well, Zack Snyder won't stop talking about
ever. He just won't stop talking ever. He keeps talking.
And people keep putting a microphone in front of him for crying out loud.
No.
Well, he had his Snyder Con over this past weekend.
Snyder Con, all right. Yes, continue.
And of course, at the convention, I figured since this was what's going on, this triggered me. He basically said, what you need to do to make Superman work is make him have problems. So
shit.
My whole take on Superman is my intention is not that Superman's angry. It's more that he is troubled by Earth because Earth is problematic to him. Snyder explained, the whole idea of Superman is this iconographic form. The potential is that he doesn't have any problems, right? He's a god on Earth and can pretty much do whatever he wants. And we don't have a lot to say about it, which is Lex's problem with him, Batman's problem with him. So for Superman to work, to make him have problems.
Okay, here's the thing. That can be so taken out of context. And I kind of get what Snyder is saying here. Is the source of all, and this is true, the source of drama is conflict, right? Characters have to be in conflict, or else what are we doing? Like, why are we watching? My hair is a mess. My characters need to constantly, no, that is the source of drama, especially in
film. No, but the conflict doesn't have to be between characters. It's man versus man versus himself, or man versus nature, or
but in reality, the story that resonates the most typically is man versus man, or man versus some type of antagonist. Superman fighting the forces of nature, not going to do much. Like, right?
Well, we've already tried that one. It was called Superman Returns.
Kind of like, and that's the thing is like, so he does have to have problems. Like Superman is a lot of what Snyder says is accurate. Superman is a god amongst Earth, but he's the best of us, right? He could rule us with an iron fist, but he doesn't. So into that, there are issues with it. And again, the humanity does frustrate Superman because he is better than us. But therein lies the source of conflict, right? It's Superman, Lex Luthor is a natural conflict. So he does have to have problems, right? Everyone has problems. That's humanity. That is the source of drama, is some type of conflict. So without conflict, what are we watching? We need conflict. So he's not wrong on it. The problem is how he chose to execute it when he had the opportunity, like having him break Zod's neck. That's just because that's what he wanted to do.
Well, it's not just that. It's like your conflict can't be only with yourself. Like, who wants to watch an angsty Superman working through his issues? Like, you need to give him an actual antagonist.
They've tried. They tried. The problem with Zod is that it was too early for the Kryptonian invasion story, right? We didn't get comfortable with one Kryptonian, let alone an army of Kryptonians.
And Luthor was a
it just didn't work. Like Eisenberg, that's the kid's name, right? Was an interesting choice for Luthor, right? Because then you get the guy who played Mark Zuckerberg playing Lex Luthor. I thought that's interesting, but it just didn't work. Like it just didn't. Yeah. It just didn't work.
Well, they made a hybrid of Luthor and and what's crazy guy?
The Joker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that also
that's literally what it was.
Yeah, he wasn't very Lex Luthor.
That goes back to what he was saying, and like, yes, obviously the heart of drama is conflict, but you're right. Like, to have Superman show up at the same time an army shows up on this planet, and yet you also haven't seen Superman be a hero yet.
He didn't know how to be. He's learning.
And it's just like, yeah, no one on Earth should have ever trusted him. Like it makes no sense because
Luthor and Batman are justified in their thoughts about Superman.
Yeah.
Right? They're justified. Now it's on the conflict is Superman proving to the rest of us of why he's worthy of being Superman. That's it. That's the story. That's a great Superman movie. Not great, but I think that's the great basis for a Superman movie. Right there is Luthor turning people against this alien coming down and Superman having to win us over. Right? That makes sense.
And that's something that Luthor would do because Luthor would engage in character assassination in order to take down this person that he thought was an enemy.
Right. And then Superman being Superman overachieves and wins people over, wins hearts and minds.
All right. Let's hold that thought for a second. Let's take a quick commercial break.
Oh, Lord.
And then we'll talk a little bit more about what Superman needs.
Some podcasts are like this.
Sorry, wrong ad.
You're scared of me because you can't control me. But that doesn't mean I'm your enemy. Then who is? That's what I'm worried about. My son was twice the man you love.
With a PG-13, experience it in IMAX 3D.
Yeah, it's still not Superman. Superman falling into an ocean of skulls is just not Superman.
That commercial exemplifies everything you shouldn't do with Superman.
100%.
It's one of the reasons I picked
It's like they did on was it Channel Awesome, the Nostalgia Click, when they reviewed that movie. It's like in the background they just had a constant loop of I am Jesus, because all Jesus represents like iconography with him falling out into space like like this. It's
funny too because he was a character created by two Jewish men who was very clearly a Moses pastiche,
right.
But whatever.
Yeah.
That's why I like Man of Steel. That's why I like Man of Steel, despite its flaws. Like it's a great looking trailer. I can't argue that. I actually think Russell Crowe is probably the best thing about the whole movie. Right? I really do think that he's actually pretty good as Jor-El. I don't know why Krypton became the planet from Avatar for a minute.
Yeah,
and I don't know why the technology is based around that little pin thing that you play with as a kid, where you put your hand in the pin and you put your face, and they think that's all the Kryptonian technology is based around that for some reason. But I don't know, man. It just never felt like Superman, and it's not on Henry Cavill. Cavill's out there trying to be charming, but he's got to murder people.
It's funny too because that's also one of the things that even though Russell Crowe is good in the role that he's given, it's one of the issues I've had with the movie from when I even first saw it. And it's funny, I heard this talked about. I think I could be wrong, and Randy's not watching this week. I think it was Colt 45 that pointed this out. It's like it's that typical like adopted kid or kid with a stepdad fantasy who doesn't know his real father's fantasy of like, oh, Krypton dad is better than Earth dad, like my real dad's better than you,
There is there is a little bit of that though in Superman, like, and it's not the first time that's been explored. Smallville kind of did that too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind that part of it because, again, Clark is this character of two worlds where you have Superman and you have Clark,
Sorry,
and they're I know you threw me off, and you have the balance betwixt the two. So I don't hate that idea of him having those kind of feelings. I just hate the execution.
Yes.
Like Jonathan Costner sitting there. They go, no, stay there. No, I did that on purpose.
Jonathan Costner. Yeah.
I'm going to let this tornado suck me up on purpose, and we will never have how they that casting. I'll never know. They made Ray Kinsella and what is this? Maximus Decimus Meridius his fathers, and somehow blew it. I'll never understand
pretty much
how you could cast him, because you look at that cast, right? You look at that cast and you go, "This is a Superman cast." Henry Cavill, great on paper. It's Russell Crowe, that's true. Sure. Kevin Costner, oh my God, Ray Kinsella, perfect for Jonathan Kent. Diane Lane, my God, Martha Kent, genius casting. Amy Adams, great Lois Lane. This should all work. And then you put it together and you're like, why is Superman killing people? Why are millions of people dying?
Exactly.
Like, why?
Why are there so many bodies?
Yeah, like that's the body count was just too high for a Superman movie. Yeah, Frost says, yeah, Russell and the Army General guy are really good in the movie. Yeah, he's good too. I agree with that. Like, the problem with the movie isn't performances. It isn't like the acting. The problem in the movie is David goddamn Goyer and Zack Snyder. I wish Ray was here.
Hell, even in Dragon Ball Z, every time they're about to fight, the very first thing all the characters do is like, can we find like a wasteland or, a tundra where we can go fight where there's less people? Like, Superman would never have let that go on.
No, I agree. He would have grabbed him and they'd flown to the moon. They'd have fought on the moon because that's what Superman would do. And it's just...
Hassan says, why is it denigrating to have Superman have eternal conflict over his status as God or man? Does even the question make people uncomfortable?
I think the question does make people feel uncomfortable because I do steer to thank you, Jonathan Costa. I am, it's not a bad name. I do think the idea of having a character question his status as a god is uncomfortable for people, and maybe not the topic to explore with Superman specifically, because I don't know if that audience really wants. With a Superman pastiche character, yeah, you can do that. I think Superman questioning his place in the world, like how he can have these godlike powers and exist, I think that's fine. Yeah, we got like 10 seasons of it in Smallville. That's pretty much the whole thing. I think that's a good thing to have. I think, again, there's tons of built-in conflict, internal conflict and external conflict with Superman. Superman's got lots of problems. We don't have to have him murder people.
Mm-hmm.
That was a different problem.
So, all right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I wanted to try to say, what do we want to see in a Superman movie? What are some of the key things you feel like they need to get right? And what are some of them? Obviously, we're talking about some of them now. Some of the horrible mistakes we've seen in the past that we don't want repeated. And I was gonna say, I'll even go first. I kind of feel like if you don't get the core of Superman right, like, don't even bother.
I agree.
And I feel like part of the problem is, unfortunately, in all of the current movies, especially Marvel, it's very much like the character got their powers and then they learned a grave lesson, and it's what drove them to be a hero. And Batman lost his parents, and it's what drove him to become the hero that he is.
That's most of the heroes.
But where Superman, it was he was raised by good salt of the earth people who had strong moral foundation and said, like, you were put here for a reason, and you should help people with your powers. And that's like, that worked. It worked in the 70s. It's worked in the comics for decades. But for some reason, when we came to Man of Steel, it's like, nah, let's just make it so that the other aliens show up and threaten the Earth, so then he has to come out and do something.
I think there's a lot of people that are uncomfortable with the concept of Superman because they think that Superman cannot exist in a world where we have Batman, because Batman is cool. And so people fear that Superman is the Boy Scout and there's no appeal to the Boy Scout. And I disagree with that. So Naruto, Classes is Naruto and Superman have the same origin story. I love both characters. I don't know enough about Naruto. I'll take your word for it. If they want, and he goes, if you want a realistic Superman, look at The Boys. Just add more Republicans and Democrat debate over Superman. Not going to touch that one. Wish I didn't read it.
Yeah, and not only that, like, no, we don't want a realistic Superman.
I don't
want
either.
The Boys.
I don't think that Superman should necessarily be, because Batman's not realistic. Being realistic about a who dresses up like a bat and should die somehow. Batman is far more unrealistic than Superman. Kassan says, but Superman had his whole planet destroyed. He had to understand he's a strange land, and he's superior and must align himself to prove the average person. Yeah, I agree. There is a lot to that too, and I think that for Superman, a lot of that stuff is figured out with him before he's Superman, which is why I think the Smallville origin story is particularly interesting. Is him realign? Do you guys? Hey, Dave, you're throwing up these questions too fast, man. I'm trying to answer one. And I have ADD. I'm going to read the thing that's on the screen. I think that it's interesting to explore that, but I don't think I want a whole movie about that. I don't know. Maybe I do. I have to see it execute. I have to see it in execution.
No, but you're right. We got 10 years of exploring that in Smallville. Like, give us the first 10 minutes of him exploring it somehow.
I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I just want to see it done. I'm okay with any kind of conflict. I don't hate the idea of him exploring his role in the world. I don't think Superman should think of himself as a god, though. Because the moment you think of yourself the moment you start to think of yourself as a god, you let your grip on humanity slip.
And again, that's also why the original movie works so well. Because what does he call himself? A friend. He doesn't say he's a god. Yeah.
Because he wouldn't. Superman doesn't view himself like that. Frosty, do you guys want an origin story? I have a debate with my friends all the time whether they need one or not. I could go either way on this. Gunn has said they're not doing an origin story because they don't need one. I think an origin story for Superman is good. I think it's okay to do another one, and I'd be fine with it. You said, what do you want from a Superman movie? I cooked up when I was in my 20s, I cooked up a 4-part Superman movie in my head and wrote it all down. So in my head canon, I have like what I think would be a great Superman series. Like, I would be Clark being more active. I would like to see Clark being a journalist, investigating and being thrust into having to become Superman. Like, I think that the big problem with DC Comics in general is we don't lean on the alter ego enough. And the Clark Kent character is interesting. And the fact that he has to balance this different aspects of himself to not slip into the potential godhood. Like, that's what I like to see. I would like to see assuming everyone watched Smallville last year, that's fair. Smallville's been off the air for like 13 years now, so I'm not opposed to that. I would like to see Clark Kent investigating like Intergang. Like, there's something going on that brings Clark Kent to Metropolis, and he's being a answer, and that immediately puts him into conflict with Lois Lane, who would be for the planet. That's what I would like to see, and this forces him to have to become Superman. That's my headcanon of what would work.
John, you're being quiet.
Well, I'm trying not to interrupt. He's on a roll. So
I'm very passionate about the subject.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's good. I mean, I think it's perfectly easy to have Superman, Clark Kent, explore what his place is in the universe while he's having conflict with an actual antagonist.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason not to have both at the same time. And like, if they could just, what we need as an origin story is an origin story with, a more canonized version of the origin story with Lex Luthor. I think we could do another Lex Luthor. I think, and have what?
No, I was going to say I think you're right, and I think that's something that actually could have made Man of Steel work if they showed him having more of a conflict about being Kryptonian versus human in his conversations with Zod. But they
I agree with that.
They just made it like Zod's the mustache twirling bad guy, and Superman's got to stop him.
The problem with
I will find him.
The problem with Zack Snyder is he talks about his movies like they're so deep, and realistically, they're not. Like he thinks he writes these things about these super deep and introspective characters. Like the movie we were writing was just too heavy for people. And Zod's going, "I will find him." Yes. And Clark Kent's falling into a sea of skulls. I mean, there's no subtlety in there whatsoever. And I'm not saying I need Superman to be super subtle, but you got to realize the movie you're making. Like the movie you're making is not the movie you think we're watching.
Yeah, and I really hate to keep going back to the swell, but Bruce Timm did a perfect introduction of Lex Luthor over there was one main episode and then like a couple of other episodes that could be easily made into a movie that introduced Lex Luthor as, the big corporate guy who also hates Superman for almost justifiable reasons, like you guys said, like he new guy with godlike powers, you got to be, but then also introduce Lex's own shortcomings and his personal feelings of inferiority, and that is a perfect driver of conflict between him and Superman.
If you look at like there's lots of different versions of Luthor. Lots.
Yeah.
My favorite version of Luthor is the one who's the self-made billionaire, right? The guy who pulled himself up and worked really, really hard, turned himself into this billionaire. He's a genius. And
murdered his parents.
but this is the way he sees it. And then like he becomes like super successful, and then this alien shows up with all these superpowers that no matter what, none of us can do, and that's like super relatable for a villain. I find Luke the most relatable, even though he's a billionaire, one of the most relatable villains just in terms of his psyche. Like he hates Superman specifically because he cannot be him, and there's just jealousy there, right? And it's so pure and simple. Right? I don't like you because you're different and you're better than me, and I can't buy it and I can't build it, and I hate it. And it's so it's so simple. It's so simple and it's so human. Michael Rosenbaum's was the best Luthor.
That one comment by Bruce Wayne in the Zack Snyder movie. If there is a 1% chance that like he could be bad, then we have to do something about him. Like that's a Lex Luthor thought.
That's a Lex Luthor line, not a Batman line.
Yeah, right.
Okay, but the line, and I like. Okay, this is the line between Batman and Lex Luthor is very thin. Yes. A bad day for Batman would be Luthor. Batman has way more, and I think Bruce realizes this. He has way more in common than he has with Clark.
Yeah.
All right.
Without Alfred, Bruce Wayne could be Lex Luthor.
Kassan says, and how is Superman immune to ego? Does Krypton have something in the water that eliminates ego?
No, his upbringing. His upbringing.
I think there's
his canonical upbringing. Yeah.
I think there's kind of maybe 3 points to this. Exactly. His upbringing is an important thing. I think him realizing he has the power to like obliterate anyone he meets makes him realize like, oh, I've got to put this in check. And
his parents instilling empathy into him.
I also kind of feel like and trying to avoid sounding like an old man on saying get off my lawn, but I think we live in a society that's becoming more and more egocentric, and I think it's hard for people to look past like, well, there's this idea, I've said this before, there's this idea of wanting to bring heroes down to our level, where the idea should be No, he's something we aspire to. Like Superman was the alpha hero that everyone should be aspiring to.
I think that's the conflict of the movie, to be honest with you. That should be the conflict of the movie. Is like Luthor and society is trying to bring him down to us, and he's trying to elevate us, right?
Right.
Because that's really what Superman is. And I don't think it's a bad. I think there's something in Clark that I almost think as a kid, something, again, headcanon here, happened where like he realized young, I could do a lot of damage, and I think it scares him to go too far.
I think it's done well in the first movie when he kicks the football into orbit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is even done on Smallville. It's been done over and over again, and it's like, yeah, you could easily be the star quarterback, but to what end?
Yeah, but he wasn't Smallville. Like Smallville was a lot like the Burns Superman, where like Clark did play football. He just held back because he wanted to feel normal.
That's true. Okay,
like
well, let's go to the original movie. Like, again, the point is to what end? Like, what's it going to gain humanity? Like, you're here for a higher purpose. What's it going to gain humanity if you go and use your powers to be a superstar?
Because you want to feel like a human. And there again, there is conflict right there. Right? And there's moments where Jonathan and Clark can have like give and take. Jonathan, okay, you can play football. Okay, I had to make a touchdown and I accidentally crippled a kid. Like, and then he has to live with that. Stuff like that. Like, that is how I think Kassan says, I think the fear of not addressing human flaws of Superman makes him elevated above humanity. The simple avoidance makes him godly. I don't want heroes unrelatable. I understand that, and I don't think it is unrelatable. I think that having him make mistakes, and because here's the thing with Superman, he cannot make a mistake. I mean, like, imagine, think of it as a parent, right? Relate this as like to a parent. Like, I have a kid. Any mistake I make with my son is going to have a negative impact on his psyche for the rest of his life.
Right.
It did not when the dog died, when Wicket died 2 years ago. We did not tell him mom was taking Wicket to the vet to get him put to sleep. We said say goodbye to Wicket because we didn't want him. He was 4, or he was 5. I didn't think he could handle it. Consequently, he's terrified of this new dog, something terrible happening to a new dog. Does not like letting the dog out of his sight. My mistake as a parent. I have now, because of my mistake, to try to take pain away from my kid. I have done nothing but mess him up. Right? That is like, and again, that's a relatable thing. So I can relate to Superman who if he screws up with humanity, bad things are going to happen. And there's a weight in that. There's a very relatable weight to that kind of a burden.
Right. But isn't the point you're making by Jonathan Kent in Man of Steel letting the tornado kill him is the idea of like, I'm shielding my son from possible pain and issues by him revealing himself. So I'll kill myself instead of letting him have any kind of pain.
And I actually understand why they wrote that and thought it was going to work, but it just did not work.
No.
Well, because he told his son, you go back under there and I'll go get the dog. It's like, no, you tell your indestructible son to go there. And if he survives, it's like, oh, it's a miracle. And it's a Bible Bolt. So they'll be like, oh, praise Jesus. That's all you take, geez, that's
now you're being I think done in the first movie when Jonathan has the heart, and they did it in Smallville too. He has a heart attack, he can't save him. Right. Then learning that I can't do everything.
That was perfect.
Yeah, it was, because he couldn't save him. Right. And
all my power and I could not save him.
Exactly. So, hey, dog, that works so well.
That's the lesson, yeah.
Yeah, that's the lesson. I get what they wanted to do something that was a little bit more exciting, a little more visual. Now, he could have been trying to save him, or he could have saved 20 kids, and then dad died. And the lesson is, I can't save everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, there's more effective ways to do it that aren't necessarily turning up the angst. And angst is easy to write. It's easy to be like, yeah, angst, pain, darkness. It's easy to write that. It's harder to write subtlety.
You're talking about that scene, and my biggest problem with that scene is that it is the no man's land scene from Wonder Woman.
The impossible.
Like, if you are a hero inside, when you see somebody in pain or about to die, everything goes away. Your body moves of its own accord. You have to save that person.
Yeah.
That's not he's not Superman if he did not do everything in his power to save his father. No matter what his father said, a real hero can't stop themselves from trying to help somebody.
And let's not forget that marketing people and studio execs did not want that scene in Wonder Woman. Because it's easy.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because it comes off, because we are so jaded that we think of heroes as corny. Like the scene in Spider-Man 2 where he's holding the trains back, right? That's a great hero thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. I mean, like, but we get this in our head. And in the Frosty's, and in the first movie can't be a world-ending antagonist. I agree with that too. Because where do you go? How do you elevate the stakes? How do you elevate the stakes from the apocalypse? I completely agree with that.
Here's the thing I want to say about that, though. That's why I brought the comment up. It's like, yes, but even in the first 1978 Superman movie, like, it wasn't world-ending, but it was pretty dang destructive what Luthor was doing.
It was but it was personal. That's why it worked for that one.
Yeah,
it was, and it didn't. It was really corny. Like he turned like,
oh yeah, of course it's corny. We all know that.
I love that movie, but the ending is such a cop out. It's a giant cop out, right? He turns back. He runs. He flies so fast the planet spins back. I mean, like even in Superman. And again, I love character. You know me, character over everything. Like sure, okay, but I mean, I think it's a cop out to this day. I don't. And again,
that's because they were trying to finish
stakes.
It gets rid of all the stakes.
It does. If you could turn back the hands of time, why do we do anything? I'll just keep doing it. And then he did it again, really, in the downer cut of Superman 2. Like, it's my one thing I hate about Superman, the motion picture. I hate the ending. I really do.
Classy points out that because this is from earlier, that we live in a cynical world.
We do live in a cynical world. That's the conflict. That is the conflict. We live in a cynical world, and Superman is trying to break that. That is the conflict of it.
Yes,
Superman. Superman is the icon, the one you look towards when you're feeling cynical. He's the one. He's like, he's the rally point for the human race. That's the whole point of him. He's the one that you turn to when you're feeling lost. He's right. That's the whole point of Superman.
The little kid tying the towel around his neck to want to be something. That's him. Andy's super into Luke right now, and that's Luke, right? He's the guy who does the impossible, right? He epitomizes that great. Kassan, heroes that exemplify their character is awesome. Heroes that are infallible are not approaches. I love No Man's Land. That does not eliminate the need. I don't understand what this thing of no. I never said doesn't need to be internal conflict. I think internal conflict is something that drives all characters. Like I at no point of us not advocate for Superman to have any internal conflict. Like I don't think Superman should think of himself as a god. Then he's not human, right? And Superman needs to be human. He needs to think he's human, because if he doesn't think he's human, he's Darkseid, which is why Darkseid works as a grand antagonist of Superman, because he's what Superman could be, unchecked. Yeah. Luthor works as a great antagonist of Superman, because Luthor is what humanity can be, unchecked, right? So Superman has to find a balance to not be that. That is internal conflict. For me, it's Superman. It's the moment of Superman saying, "I could do this easy, and I could do it better than you, but I'm not gonna." Right? But you need to see that, and I agree. There should be internal conflict, and no one's saying Superman isn't infallible. And this is where I think there's this fallacy about the character, that he is the Boy Scout, that he is infallible. He's not infallible. He just has to. He cannot allow himself to screw up, and there's weight. There's pressure in that. Right? Mm-hmm. It's hard to live up to that responsibility. That is the conflict.
And you can get internal conflict very easily by having external conflict, because that's what drives you to look into yourself.
I'm gonna hit it again and
hit it again.
Donner, I think got it right. It again. Donner did it right. And it's something that I have we haven't seen often since then is Clark Kent and Superman felt like two different characters in the original Superman movies, right?
No. Clark Kent, this is the Silver Age Superman where Kal-El pretends to be a Clark Kent. There's like three different guys running. There's Superman, there's the Clark Kent, and there's the dude who grew up in Kansas. That's the guy. That's Superman, right? Because when he's Superman, when he's in the costume, he's doing this. And when he's Clark Kent, he's doing this. But then you get the little moments in between where you get the real guy. So it's almost like he's playing three roles in that movie, right? Because there's a weird balancing act in that movie.
But I was gonna say, like, I think it's weird moments like after they do the flying scene and there's that whole weird Lois Lane poem. She
Can
says,
you read my mind?
Oh God.
It is. There's times it's kind of
but then but then he comes to the door as Clark Kent and they're gonna go out on a date. And she's like, "Oh, let me just get my coat or whatever." And she's in the other room, and like he takes off his glasses and straightens up, and it's like
good acting.
He's conflicted. Like, I want to tell her the truth now, right? But then decides, no, this isn't right. This isn't the right time. So yes, there you go. There you are going, showing conflict without him saying like, "I'm a god," and I'm conflicted on taking over the world.
That's okay, because we got to get him on the show sometime. It's be a lot easier just to talk. That's my point, JD. But the classic Superman doesn't have any flaws to overcome. Everything is external. Even the emotional conflicts result from external. Okay, yeah. If we're talking about 1962, that is the Silver Age Superman. That has not been the case of the character in the comics since Julie Schwartz took over editing the book in 1968. And that has not been the character of Superman in the books at any point since then. Like, he spent more time as a layered character with some nuance and some struggle than he spent as the super god, which was only done because that's what the code wanted. That's what the comic code wanted him to be.
Yes.
So they had to write him to that. And it's like, we still define him. Like, if you watch George Reeves' Superman from the show, he took no guff from nobody. He was whooping gangsters' ass, and he was outsmarting people, and his Clark Kent was hard-nosed journalist. Like, that George Reeves Superman was not the Silver Age Superman, but for some reason we've let the guy who could spin the earth on his fingers, because that's all the code will allow him to be the definitive version of the character. And the Christopher Reeve Superman is not a guy who doesn't have internal conflict. He's full of it. He literally fights himself in the third movie. Let's not talk about that again.
Well, Classy wants to start a fight.
Superman 3 is great. I suggest you go into your downloads and review and listen to the episode where we reviewed Superman 3 and almost died. George Reeves was the shit. I used super underrated, man. Superman stuff is fun. And George Superman would slap Lois for not making a sandwich fast enough. Oh, hey, Randy.
Oh, my God, yeah.
I should have wrote that. There's some truth to that. It was, in fact, the 1950s.
Yes. Yeah, if you read the early Superman comics in the 40s and 50s,
that dude was breaking. That dude, the 30s Superman was throwing dudes off of buildings and like punching people in the face with superpowers, and he was.
It was very sexist towards Lois too.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah. Well, it was the 50s. I mean,
But at the same time, Lois is not the damsel in distress in those books. Like, she gets herself in trouble, but she gets herself in trouble. Yeah. For a character in the 30s, Lois Lane has a shit ton of urgency and a lot of character. Like those Fleischer cartoons, she's oftentimes some of the best parts about him character-wise. Like, she's such a unique character in that era, right? Where she has one.
So there's a good question. Yeah, how do you make Lois Lane work today? It's like we all liked Amy Adams, Do we want that version of Lois?
Define what you mean by.
Yeah, because
hard nose will take a
yes,
chances.
That's my Lois.
As
Amy Adams was kind of a wet blanket in this one.
No, disagree. I thought she was good.
Yeah.
I don't think they gave what'd they give her? They gave her to look for a bullet that was supposedly Superman used to kill people. It's like, why would you even bother doing that? It's like
she snuck onto the Kryptonian ship and was doing some investigating. She's only there, by the way, to give her something to do. So you can call that bad writing. I won't argue that.
Yeah.
But she's doing
that's
something.
the problem.
She has agency, right? She's doing things. She's active.
Well, yeah, but after that,
enough.
they kind of put her in the background. After that, she was kind of, sent off to the farm, basically.
I like the animated Dark Justice Superman, especially when he lost his powers from the Kryptonian tattoo. I really saw him overcome his internal conflict.
Never saw it. Can't comment.
Oh, that was a really, really good one, and it involves another Flashpoint too, apparently. But it was Dark Justice, the animated show. It was the second animated Dark Justice League one. That is probably one of the best animated movies they've put out.
I like.
You
Lois
should see it. It's awesome.
I liked Lois from the new show. I like Clark from the new show. I hate their kids, so I couldn't keep watching the new show. If it was just the two of them,
the two dumbasses,
the two dumb shit kids, and the one who goes, and I just want to. Man, that first 15 minutes of the pilot, I was like, they nailed him. This is Superman. This is great. By the end of the show, I was like, I never want to watch this again.
In real life, in the first 15 minutes, those kids would either kill somebody or just out Superman right there. I mean,
Classy's got a nice suggestion here. Instead of a reporter, she's a web blogger, podcast, tell the truth about truth. That's pretty much what she would be today. That's more of a 21st century, but a 2020s version of what Lois would be. I agree with that.
Like
she's freelance.
In today's world, how many real reporters are there still, or is it mostly people who just read the news that we know of that on TV?
There's very few places. Yeah, there's very it would be like a YouTube.
That's why people like Superhero Speak, because we tell the truth.
Here's the thing about what Lois would be. Lois would be somebody who used to work for one of the networks.
Jay Jonah.
Lois would be somebody who used to work for one of the big publications, one of the big networks, and had to make compromises because of corporate interests. And then she left and has her own Substack now.
Because she couldn't stand it anymore.
Yeah, that's Lois Lane. And she would totally be that. That's a great idea. Who is that? Classy that suggested that?
Yes.
That's a good one. I like that. That's solid. Because the publishing industry is dying. Lex would have bought Lex did buy the Daily Planet numerous times in the comics universe.
Yeah.
Have Lois work for 24-hour news channel owned by Luthor. That's happened, and that would be a great plot point. Oh my God! So that's what it is. Clark would have his own deal. Lois works for the Luthor thing. There's conflict, and then she leaves at the end. There you go. Boom, bang. That's genius. See,
what's really funny is everything these guys are suggesting. Oh yeah, no, that's happened a couple of times already.
It's all good, but it's never happened in mainstream. Never happened in the movies. See, that's what I'm saying. There's great stuff that comes like Hassan says she's forced to spell misinformation about Superman and other superheroes. Yeah, it's perfect. Like she would be an instant foil to Superman.
Isn't that J. Jonas Jameson in the Daily?
Yeah, exactly.
Spider-Man.
Okay, here's the difference, though. Lois is pretty. That changes it. That changes the dynamic immediately. Right? That totally changes the dynamic on television. I mean, I'm gonna be that guy right now. Fox News hires a lot of good-looking blondes to deliver their information. Right? That's the truth. Like that could easily be Lois, and there's conflict in that where she has to kind of change her morals a little bit. There's great man. James Gunn. I know you're not listening. I know you've got your own script, but there's some good stuff going on here.
Nobody says that Lois can't learn a lesson too, right?
You know who else would like to get money from Super Chats and Fan Sport? Superheroes Speak, which you can donate Super Chats. I just don't know how.
I don't think we have that set up yet. We can't monetize yet.
We got him on Fight Game and didn't even know how the hell we did it either. Once we got Super Chats, we're like, how did this happen? Nobody can figure it out.
We need a certain number of people though first, right?
We have enough subscribers at this point.
We do.
Yeah.
So if you don't know how to send it Super Chat, send it to us because we need money.
Yeah. I mean, look, John can't even afford a seat. He's sitting on the floor.
I know, right? I have nothing to sit on. It's very hard floor. My butt hurts. Send me money.
Randy says the conflict of Lois staring at the bleach bottle in her hand to change her identity. There's something there, man. There's something there. I get what he's saying. There's something there. I like all this, Dave. We had no show planned really for this week, and talking about Superman always gets me going.
Yeah, that's why I did it.
Good plan. We cannot have Lois with an OnlyFans. That's a great joke, though.
Oh God, no.
That's a great joke. You could have an OnlyFans.
She could have a Patreon, but not an OnlyFans.
Yes, but that's a good joke that Jimmy can make. You could have an OnlyFans. I'll take pictures. See, it writes itself.
Oh,
that's it. See, but that's a joke that Jimmy Olsen would make.
I think we're straying now.
I think it's genius.
All right. So the villain. Do we do Lex?
Yeah.
If you do him right, yeah.
Yeah. Lex.
And as an introduction, you don't need to have 5 different villains. You just need Lex. That's all you need. If he's written well, that's all Superman needs because they're, again, like the best way to challenge Superman would be intellectually. You know, you take a hostage, you don't tell him where the hostage is, and you keep the hostage on the other side of the planet or on the moon, somewhere where, you know, Superman is going to find him in 5 minutes or 5 days.
Okay,
you
so
know?
Randy's suggesting Brainiac, and I think the best personally, I think the best version of Brainiac is Bruce Timm's Brainiac, the computer that ran Krypton, right? And I love the idea that Brainiac basically helped advance the destruction of Krypton so that it could scan it all and then keep everything and move on. And it's been doing
so it could
that.
save Krypton. That was the whole point.
Yeah, save it.
Save Krypton and save all these other planets by saving them.
So AI.
Yeah, no, that's
no.
About
You could 100%. You could do AI, and I think that is a good sequel villain. I think that you got to, in my humble opinion, you go Lex, Brainiac, then Zod. That's what I would do.
You need to work up to that, and that's the point. Yeah. Like they go too quick. They want the biggest bang for the buck, and that's the
and then Darkseid. See, I think you should have Lex Luthor working with Intergang and Bruce, and Intergang's running guns and running like crazy tech, and they think it's Lex building it, but it turns out it's actually stuff from Apocalypse.
And do that for the first 2 movies.
Yeah.
And do that for the first movies.
Augmenting his stuff. Like people think he's a genius, but realistically, he's just taking stuff from Apocalypse and like reverse engineering it. That's what I would do.
Drew says Superman has the world's most successful OnlyFans, and Clark lives a normal life.
Well, could you imagine the size of Superman's dick?
Okay.
He's got to have a giant dick. Randy agrees with me. I'd hold Lex for Superman 2 or 3. He's a background character in the first second movie. I could see that. I think that could work that way, but there's no guarantee you get a 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Just steal the Bruce Timm stuff. I agree with Brandy.
That's actually a point I wanted to bring up too. Like we keep talking about the well, right? Like not only do you have all these years of comics, you've got Smallville, you've got the original TV show, you've got the original movies, you've got the new Adventures of Superman, you've got the new show, you got
a lot.
The Bruce Timm, like there's a giant well, and to find the best pieces and all of that is a great place to start from. Whereas I feel like Zack Snyder went, yeah, I know the basic story, and I don't care about anything that's been done before. I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah. So I guess here's the question: is what do you think Gunn is gonna do?
Something cool. Pretty much.
What Drew said. John wants an R-rated Superman.
John wants
it doesn't have to be R-rated just to make it R-rated. It can not Dean Cain. No, he's out.
Oh, you actually want an R-rated Superman?
No, well, I mean, I want them to be able to make a Superman story without having to worry about PG-13, whatever. Like, you know, like if you look at every Marvel movie, you can't find blood in any Marvel movie.
Yeah,
right?
because
I don't want blood in a Superman movie either.
You want to take kids to see a Superman movie, like
I mean,
no,
like I said,
I want the superheroes for me, not for the children who buy all the stuff.
I don't want an R-rated movie. I want them to do a good Superman movie. If it becomes R, fine. If not, whatever. But again, they won't do. Yeah, like we were talking about this before. I think you came on. They're not going to do that because they want that demographic of the 9 to 18-year-old or whatever. There's no way they'd ever do that.
Randy has a good point here.
Or should they? What's the most obscure Superman villain? That's what Gunn does. So like the Terra Man.
Oh my god.
He's gonna be riding around his cowboy hat. I could actually see
Matter Eater Lad. Oh wait, I don't know if he was.
He's in the Legion of Superheroes.
Oh, you know what?
Just give me blood.
Oh, but no, he just gave me a good idea. You know who'd be a great villain? Vandal Savage.
Vandal Savage would be a good Superman villain.
That's another one you could work up to as well.
Vandal Savage. I like Vandal Savage. The Immortal guy might be a tricky one right out the gate, but Vandal Savage has a Mr. Mix's. Is that supposed to say Mr. Mix's Spitlick? Is that what you're going for?
I think so.
Spitlick, yeah.
Yes.
That's a tough one. The fifth dimensional imp. That does not help people who want a more grounded
Superman.
No, Clancy, not Toy Man.
But the only time that Mixless Pitlick has ever the only time he's ever brought in is almost as a comic foil, right? He's almost like Q for Superman.
100%. Yes, that's exactly what he is.
But done as but done more comedic, than Q.
Right.
Remember who did the voice? Do you remember who did the voice of Mr. Mix's Spitlick on the Bruce Timm version?
No, who?
Is Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh right.
He was out there doing that's the Superman. It was actually perfect. It was actually
Jafar. Why don't you? Oh wait, sorry, wrong video.
Now I'm gonna go back and watch that series because it's goddamn was it good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know the reason why it's on my mind is because just before I came and sat down here, my youngest nephew of my sister's brood, he just turned 9. What do I see him turn on the TV just as I'm going? Justice League Unlimited. I'm like, oh my God, I am so proud.
It's probably the best, that or Batman. I'm not sure which one. That's probably the best interpretation of a comic I think ever. I love it so much.
To bring it back a little bit, though, I do think if we want to capture the idea of a hero journey and him struggling with becoming Superman and his place in the world, Lex is the perfect villain for that.
I think Lex works well as the perfect villain for a first Superman movie. I really enjoyed Mark Waid's Birthright. I think that's something they could. I almost think like Zack Snyder tried to crib from it a little bit, but didn't kind of miss the point a lot of it. Parasite is a classic. Parasite is a Superman villain I like to see. Man, it's more. Yeah, Parasite's cool.
He's good for a movie, but again, you could do that while you're building up Vandal Savage in the background or Darkseid or whatever.
I think he's good for a secondary villain. I don't think he can be your main antagonist. I don't think he's a driver for a story. Gunn may make up a villain. It's possible.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, but it's possible.
Gunn is a comic book fan. He's gonna pull someone else.
X-Men is the best comic to cartoon. I disagree because the animation sucks.
Yeah,
and I like the X-Men, but then animation style is hard.
One of the best theme songs of all time.
Yeah.
But again, like Justice League Unlimited, can't beat that.
Of also bad animation, there's a lot of weird butt shots in that cartoon.
X-Men?
Yeah. Go back and watch it.
Like the ass.
Why am I not surprised?
Hey man, you can't get too far from Chris Claremont. Chris works through his kinks and his fetishes in his writing big time.
I saw a
brilliant
a meme on.
There's lots of memes
on a Superman site, and it was like, God, I can't remember. Basically, it was saying like, Superman needs to be good for the sake of being good, because making him darn it, I can't remember what it was. Now
words of wisdom, Dave. Words of wisdom.
Oh God, darn it! I had it. It popped in my head earlier, and now I can't remember it. But basically, it was saying like, and
I think we've all learned a valuable lesson today.
It's beep.
I feel enlightened now. Sorry. Go on.
Oh my God. Basically, they were talking about how this idea that heroes have to be flawed to be relatable, and that him just being good for the sake of being good, people can't relate to that nowadays. And I don't know. I don't agree with
But
that.
people should relate. See, that's it. Like the whole point of My Hero. God, I know you guys haven't seen the anime My Hero Academia, but Midoriya, the main character, is like the reason why he's given the power of All for One is because the main hero, All Might, saw him just when the chips were down and somebody was in trouble. Midoriya's body moved of its own volition to go and help and do something. Like, that's the whole point of being a hero. So, like, you don't need to constantly have the hero killing himself. You just need a good foil for the hero. He can still and in going against some other antagonist, he can also question himself. The antagonist can make him question himself, and that's fine. It can all stem from the same thing. Did I make any sense there?
Yes.
I don't make sense. Yeah.
G.I. Joe was the worst cartoon in the movie. Okay, Frosty, way off.
Okay,
topic.
so I didn't make any sense. Okay.
Mongol would be
about
cool.
Mongol and Bizarro? Well,
you got to set up. You got to set up. Bizarro's down. Bizarro line.
Mongol is like that's something James Gunn could do because
that's very Gunn. Mongol is a very Gunn character. I like to see Black. I could actually see Gunn doing something Black Mercy. I could see that.
Yeah, that would work.
Dave, are you familiar with the Black Mercy?
Oh my God, the Black Mercy, that's a whole episode in itself, and wow.
So the Black Mercy comes from this Alan Moore story called For the Man Who Has Everything, where
it's just as good.
Superman, Wonder Woman, and Robin, or Batman, Robin, and Wonder Woman are trying to figure out what to get Superman for his birthday. So they have these gifts, and they go there, and someone has beaten them to the punch. Mongol has given Superman the Black Mercy, which is this plant that envelops itself around you, and it works in your psyche, and it shows you what it thinks is your heart's desire. So it shows Clark what his life would have been like if he stayed on Krypton, and he has a son. There's two versions. The Alan Moore version, shocking, is a lot darker. Like, Krypton is a messed up place, whereas in the Bruce Timm version, Krypton is idealized. And he has a son.
But it was still dark.
It was dark, but it was different. Like the Moore version has religious zealots in Krypton, right? It's a lot more Alan Moore, whereas the Bruce Timm one's a little bit more heartfelt, and like it pulls at your heartstrings a little bit. But at the end, Superman just rips the mercy off of him, and he's like, "You have no idea what you've done to me."
Because the thing is, the Black Mercy traps you by giving you your heart's desire, and in order to get rid of it, in order for him to do it,
thinks is your heart's desire,
right. But in order to get rid of it, you have to turn your back. Like in the Bruce Timm version, he had to turn his back on his family. He had to call them fake. He had to give up that whole life that he yearned for. And like, can you imagine how a pissed off Superman looks after he'd have to give that up? After he'd have to literally
gives up his son he'll never have.
Feel like he's killing his son.
Yeah.
Feel like he's killing his son in order to get out of the trap. Like, wow, that was just good. He beat the crap out of him. It was awesome.
Classy says, or Metallo. Or James Gunn
there's
putting
so much
Authority team fighting Superman at the end that leads to the Authority film.
That could actually happen because they're trying to figure out how to do that. I could see that. Not what I would like, but I could see it. There's a lot. Superman's got an underrated rogues gallery, right?
Yeah.
Well, I could see him. I could see Gunn casting his wife as like Livewire, having that be the villain.
Oh, jeez.
I could see it.
No. Come on. Seriously?
No, actually, she'd actually work as Livewire, wouldn't she?
She would. No, I actually think it's a good casting. Actually, I'm not hating it. I think that would work. I want to see it, but if it happens, I'd be okay with it.
What are you starting here?
Me? Shit. That's what I do. I start shit.
I mean, you've talked stuff into reality.
Ray's not here. Only when Ray's here. That has to be. It's like there's two sides to every Schwartz, an upside and a downside. He got the upside, I got the downside. It's quoting Spaceballs for you.
Randy said he'd
You
watch
definitely
that
don't want
Live
your
Wire
Schwartz
movie.
upside down.
Right? It's not bad. I myself not a bad idea. I kind of like it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
What else she could be? Like
I see your Schwartz.
she could be
is
Big
big as mine.
Barda too.
She can't be Big Barda. She's short.
Oh, is she really short? Okay.
She's shorter than John Cena. Big Barda's like 6'4".
Big Barda. Yeah.
Hey, put it on a shirt.
Put it on a shirt. I start shit. Yeah. All right. I think we could put a pin in this conversation because JD could go all night talking about.
Oh, I could talk about Superman forever. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. I love Superman. Which is one reason why comics frustrate me so much. I've come to the point where I realize that I think that periodical comics are just by nature infuriating because you constantly have to create content, right? And in the quest for constantly generating content, you wind up putting out a lot of shit.
That's the problem with a lot of media these days.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder how strong they'll make Superman. I have no idea. I honestly don't.
I feel like they in live action they've brought his power level down a lot.
Mm-hmm. I think you have to. You can't have the character that juggles planets. That is hard.
Mm-hmm.
That is hard to relate to. Gunn should cast his girlfriend as Cat Grant. Well, oh, hey, that's a great idea too, Randy. I like that. Her as Cat Grant. Yes. Bravo. I like that.
All right.
But
well, everyone, great ideas tonight. Great conversation. And you know what? If you're watching this right now, and you want to make sure that you catch us live every Sunday, hit that subscribe button, click that bell for notifications, and you'll know when we go live, and you can be a part of these intriguing Superman conversations, among other things.
Sunday.
All right. Well, let's go around the room. Let's put a pin in this one. Let's say, got either A, any recommendations, or B, did you learn anything on this podcast? And JD, since you came in late, you can go first.
I didn't learn a damn thing. I learned that I just love talking about Superman, but I already knew that. I have a recommendation for everybody. Spaceballs. Andy's going through his Star Wars kick. We're going to Disney World in June. Going to make a lightsaber. Very excited about this. And as a gag, we were watching YouTube, and I came up with some Spaceballs. He's like, I want to watch this movie. So we watched Spaceballs. A lot of the jokes went over his head, but he still had a good time watching it. And that movie's aged pretty good. The stuff that hasn't aged well, just as, the times are different. Mel Brooks can get away with things that people today can't get away with, but it's done with such elegance that it still works. So
Merchandising.
That's where the real money for the movie is made. Yeah, it's aged pretty good. I highly recommend Spaceballs.
Spaceballs, the flamethrower. The kids love these.
He is absolutely fantastic.
All right, John.
Well, I don't know how much I learned, except that JD starts shit. Don't know what happens to finish that, but
you knew that.
But my recommendation, as always, well, this time anime. I'm reading Sart right now, but we'll get into that later. I broke down because I'm like caught up with all the latest anime, and I was just desperate for something. So I went back and watched. There's 2 seasons of Devil as a Part-Timer. It is way better than I thought. Originally, a couple of years ago, I tried the first episode and I only got to halfway through it, and I thought it was going in one direction, and I gave up, and I shouldn't have. It's way more fun and way more interesting than I thought. So basically, Devil Part-Timer is the demon lord from another world gets beaten by the hero, and he comes to this world, realizes there's no magic, and works for basically the McDonald's in Japan. And but I mean, you hear that and it doesn't sound interesting, but the hero follows him and craziness ensues, and it's really worth taking a look at. So there you go.
You had me at One Direction because you don't
know you're beautiful.
Nice.
Oh wait. Classy's got one last comment here. Chief, you should read Maha. What's that? Because there's so much reincarnation stories. I hardly read manga since I'm burnt out from anime manga.
I assume you're Chief.
Yeah, he's Chief DC apologist. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, Chief. Okay.
Have you looked at my thing lately? Have you read my title?
Oh, Chief DC Optimist. Oh,
James Gunn is in charge, man. Until he puts out his first movie, I'm optimistic. Then I'll change it back.
His last one was really good, so I feel I'm feeling optimistic too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I learned that John wants a bloody, disgusting Superman movie with lots of death and carnage and cursing and
That
sex.
you can't take a child to.
Yes, yeah.
But the bees, not the bees, because I don't want
He wants
him
an
in charge.
unrestrained Superman movie. And I'm a little scared.
Superman just giving it to Lois.
No, I don't want robot chicken Superman. Thank you very much.
Frosty says Brightburn.
Kind of.
Same.
Yeah, same thing. All right. But seriously, I would recommend. I don't know. I mean, I really got nothing. I talked about the Great American Baking Show at the top of the show that I've been watching that. So
Where you can go from there.
So it's only 6 episodes. They're an hour each. It's free on Roku. If you want to watch reality TV that doesn't make you want to poke your eyes out, go check it out.
That's a glowing review.
What more can you ask for?
Right. You really pushed that one, Dave.
Yes.
Reality TV that makes you not think you're on the event horizon.
There you go. I also will recommend that people hit that subscribe button and click the bell for notifications so you don't miss us live every Sunday night right here on this channel. And also, I recommend you head on over to superheroespeak.com where you can find the podcast every week. Links to all our social media at the top of the page. And, of course, reviews by our good friend Kassan and so much more. And that's it. That is all I got for the week, boys and girls. So, as always, thanks for watching. Don't let your cape caught the door.